watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever. Take me, the highest fall, it won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me. I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Today's matchup, Afreeca Freecs, KingZone DragonX, Griffin, MVP, The Fantastic Run. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Summer. It is the fourth day in a row here at OGN. Unprecedented amounts of OGN days. I'm once again Atlas. This is Papa Smithy as per usual. And we've got some pretty sweet matchups here today. A lot of blue teams playing. Starting off, we got two of them in the Afreeca Freecs versus KingZone.
Now, there is precedent for there being 4 days in a row. Remember, OGN used to be the only broadcaster doing the
That
LCK
is true.
once upon a time, but for recent memory, it's a lot of OGN, and I'm happy about it. We got to see the cool intro many, many times. Now we get to see a bit of history, a slice of history, an LCK Spring 2018 Grand Finals rematch. KingZone DragonX, 2-3 in recent memory. Afreeca Freecs, also 2 wins, 3 losses recently. These two teams vying for 4th and 5th spot. It feels like today we're seeing a kind of preview of the wild card match. It seems very likely that Afreeca Freecs will play KingZone DragonX in the first round of the playoffs, but with Hanwha looming, with SKT on a winning streak, if they don't start winning, these two teams, there's always the chance that Afreeca or KingZone could slip out of the playoffs.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy things that could happen here. If KingZone are actually able to pick up a victory, they'll be another team that we have on 10 match wins here in the LCK
They
as
could
well.
still win.
Yeah, the top of the table is extraordinarily close. It's 9 and 10 match wins apiece for the top 4, and then Afreeca Freecs right on the edge. So they can actually make it up to 9 with a victory here, and then our top 5 is 1 match win away from each other. It is just ludicrously close, and I'm excited to see what is actually going to happen here, because having 3 at the very top is about as exciting as it is to have 5 that are extraordinarily close.
And there's changes in strength of schedule, but just because on paper you should be beating an opponent, we've seen the parity between 1st and 9th, even 10th now with BBQ being more competitive, is kind of closer than it's ever been before. There's no guarantees. It's all about picking up 2-0 victories. Basically, every team has only 4 games left. We're that close to the end of the season already. Just 4 best-of-3s left. If you don't win all of them, the chance of actually getting the spot you want is very low.
Yeah, and I'm really excited that you're talking about the parity here between the top teams and the bottom teams, because we've got 2 examples happening right now in KingZone and Afreeca. Afreeca, of course, of the first team to, lose to BBQ as far as our top teams are concerned, and then Jin Air also taking down KingZone. So, yes, you do have to fear the bottom of the table. That is not a free win. Speaking of the table, here it is right now. Griffin's still on the top side, but you can see Gen.G only 2 game score away from the top dogs that have been reigning supreme throughout the season. Griffin do certainly need to be held accountable, and we know now Gen.G, they've figured it out, as well as KT Rolster having the head-to-head over the team, but Griffin's schedule has certainly eased up, much like a lot of our other top teams.
And it feels like 11 is the number. You see SK Telecom, they can get to 11 match wins. If you hit 11, that feels like you're going to be top 5. There's never been a team that picked up 11 match wins in the LCK and missed top 5. So Griffin and Genji, not much work to be done. But Afreeca and Kingzone, 3 and 2 matches respectively. Still got to pick up those victories where you can. Hanwha Life plays Kingzone and Afreeca in the next 10 days. That is some pretty hype stuff there as well. Before that happens, I'm sure Hanwha Life is at home in relative luxury watching these two teams. But let's start with an LCK Spring 2018 Grand Final rematch. It's Afreeca Freecs just as they lined up on that day, although aiming will be starting game number 1.
Yeah, it'll be aiming in over Kramer, has certainly been the case most of the time. Looking towards the top side of the map is going to be very exciting. Start it with K, have 4 letters, and you're going to have a great time if you're going to be watching this series. And Khan is going to have a rough time against Keen because Keen has been taking some names. Yes, there was some crazy cheese used against him by MVP. The Mordekaiser jungle managed to actually work. However, his Gangplank smashed Max in the face with the gun, with the sword, with everything that he had in his arsenal on the GP.
I think Keen, like you say, has been outstanding with Afreeca in kind of indifferent form. He has been great. But Atlas, there's no guarantee that a certain scallywag on the bench will be playing game number 1. When Kingzone closed that series, it was Rascal playing in the 3rd game. He and Khan both playing Cho'Gath in that series. Let's zoom over to the side of Kingzone, DragonX, and see which of the top laners it'll be today.
Yeah, who's it going to be? Is it that Rascal up there, or is it the Rascal Khan on the top side of the map? Don't know whether you caught a glimpse of him in the booth, but it is going to be Khan once again on the top side. Peanut starting as well, so no Cuz in game number 1. And then, of course, it's BDD, Prey, and Gorilla to round out the roster. Team is actually finally coming off a victory, and a substantial one as well, over KT. That was one hell of a series, and this could be very similar given the prowess that Afreeca have been able to show us.
And it's just a welcome return of the Kingzone DragonX we've seen for the better part of a year and a half. The consistency, the smart macro, good Baron setups. These were things that seemed a little bit too far from them. I think they still are susceptible to being a little bit off on their meta reads. I think they've spent too much time on mages and really should have gone back to marksman a bit earlier than they did. They're not the perfect team. They are not the Kingzone of summer last year or even the spring Kingzone that smashed the LCK. But consistently they have been able to beat Afreeca Freecs, and they should come in big favorites for today.
Yeah, spring 2018 feels like a very long time ago if you're a Kingzone fan, but they are on their way up. A win over KT, certainly a strong one, because that victory over MVP, that was just after ADD's collapsed lung. That wasn't necessarily one we were looking at with much positiveness, but now being able to take down KT is a huge one. Still, KDAs are going to go in favor of Afreeca. They've had a better season so far, but it all comes down to what's going to happen in this particular game. And last time around, Kingzone were able to get the 2-1.
They really want to get their KDAs out of the toilet. Look at their overall team KDA. They're in 7th, which is obscene for a team as talented as Kingzone DragonX. So many players in the top 5 of that top 20 rankings at Worlds last year. Kingzone DragonX, when it comes to this lineup, which started in summer of 2017, that's when the Genesis started. They have never lost a match to Afreeca Freecs, including those 2018 spring finals, supposed to be bringing you those out of Busan a few months ago. 3-1 in that series. Kingzone DragonX should be the favorite series. We have a cool stat here. Number of unique champions played. BDD has the most. Kuro, plenty of one-ofs. You see that Fly and Chovy right down the bottom.
Yeah, Ian as well, not playing too many unique picks, but BDD certainly has been mixing it up there in the mid lane. It was sort of Kuro that was trying his hand at a whole bunch of stuff in seasons past, but BDD has certainly been able to jump out and try as many things as possible so far this season.
But I don't know if that's necessarily a good point for BDD. I think BDD before was basically on Talia Galio duty, and while it's, you know, a nice feeling to be able to play different stuff, he has a lot of losses, and not all the picks have suited the identity of what Kingzone have looked for from a mid laner. So let's see if the experimentation can be shelved and the actual perfection of his champion pool can be shown today. We'll see where BDD wants to go. Probably the best Swain player on the team, but Kingzone, not necessarily a strong Swain team. Feels like Griffin and Kingzone, both not the strongest there. Jungle is going to be our featured matchup. New hair for Peanut. Looks once again like an anime protagonist. Whoa, covering up.
Oh, it's gone.
Getting a bit of an assist from his top laner. Spirit versus Peanut. Both these guys been up and down in terms of form, but I want to see the best of Spirit and the best of Peanut today, because that's one of the best jungle matchups you could ask for.
Certainly is, and that Trundle is going to be incredibly hotly contested. We actually, I believe I spoke to you guys about this a couple of days ago, Peanut having a word with me after his series saying that, yeah, Trundle's just busted. So they're going to pick that every single time that they can, but Spirit, he's on that train as well. Slightly less on the KDA front, but certainly still able to navigate around the jungle, as we're going to have a look in the mid lane. Kuro and BDD look like they're almost looking at each other. Doesn't quite work out there, as these are guys with a lot of different champions played, but BDD certainly has been mixing it a little bit further than Kuro this time with the Xerath, the things like the Karthus there in the mid lane as well.
To our best mid laners in Korea, I build Kuro as the best performing mid laner in Korea at Rift Rivals. I think he's fallen away after Rift Rivals. He's actually been
He's had a bit of a hangover at that
a lot more down than up, so I definitely would not say the same thing about him right now, but he has had a good season overall. Where are the fans at? Because Kingzone have been losing fan votes pretty consistently. Right now it's actually 60-40, so not the most votes, but 60% of people saying Kingzone will win. Given history, you'd think the number should be higher, but Afreeca Freecs on their day can beat any team in the world.
Yeah, it depends on which history you're looking at as well. Is it the recent history of Kingzone's struggles and, you know, Afreeca relatively unscathed but still losing
2 wins
the BBQ,
and 3 losses in their last 5 for both squads. So
yeah.
Neither of them are forging forward. Both of them want to become entrenched. We would expect one of these two teams to be finalists in any other season, but in this season, it's a very real possibility that Afreeca and Kingzone aren't vying in that grand final.
Well, we are into Champion Select here, and the first ban is going to go over to the Kindred. Actually, I was expecting Trundle to be hit, but maybe we'll have Afreeca really targeting that jungle pool. Not going to be the case, as Varus going to be their second ban, and the quintessential Aatrox taken away on the side of Kingzone.
Liking the Varus ban, the lethality Varus is definitely becoming a bigger and bigger thing in the LCK. It also is seen as a pseudo counterpick to the Xayah Rakan, which is also way up in priority. So I would imagine the final Kingzone ban would have to be Rakan because of who they're facing. What does that mean for a Taliyah for Afreeca Freecs? Wait to see what happens in the draft here. Taliyah open the Nocturne, frequently is making it through picks and sometimes picks and bans. In their series, going to be a blue side Taliyah ban. You would imagine Kingzone will follow this up with Rakan. But Peanut's smiling. Do they have any bigger plans here?
Could be the Rakan follow-up. Swain could also be taken away from Afreeca, a team a little bit better at piloting the Swain than other teams, Kingzone especially.
That seems like the choice, so I think you're on the money there, Swain or the Rakan. I would be on the side of Rakan, but actually, they're really respectful of a first pick Zoe. That's kind of strange to me with the Orianna priority being pretty high in recent memory.
Could be a pseudo throwaway ban here as well, wanting to trade the Rakan for the Swain, given the fact that they're standing out as the two really strong picks here in this draft.
For Kingzone, before we see any picks, I do want to see Kingzone go back to Marksman. I think they are much stronger on Marksman teams, and there is the Orianna Flex. That's a new thing that we saw come out of Hanwha Life. I think for them, Ezreal is what I want to be seeing. The Tahm Kench is also available here. I think it will definitely be locked in because just like Famada, I think Gorilla likes to have the escape button for his teammates, so
yep,
that's going to be the
to
first
go
pick.
a little bit ham. So yeah, the Catfish will be locked in, and now where does Peanut go? 20 seconds on the clock. Skarner being considered.
He's shown no Skarner priority all season, so this would be a strange one. He's going to flash it. I actually really don't like Skarner into Sejuani because you just ult him and then he doesn't suppress, and
yeah,
you keep
she
him out
was
of a
the
team
pick
fight.
into it, of course.
Okay, that's just a
Here
Kai'Sa.
we go.
We are popping off early with the Kai'Sa on blue side. Don't know if it's going to be a funnel or bot lane, but recent indication is that bot lane Kai'Sa is a bigger and bigger thing.
And you mentioned the fact that this is a spring final rematch. Kai'Sa Morgana could just be locked in here, and they could be feeding Kingzone some of their own medicine. Not going to be the case as the cow being considered, but 3 seconds to go, and Braum will be what we land on. Funnel looming, but thankfully there's a Sejuani there to dissuade them.
And the fun thing is, you're right, there could be a weird funnel. It does feel unlikely because of the first pick Sejuani, and yet, because it's Braum in the first round, you never know. So it's a bit of a fun mind game to deal with. Kingzone are actually going to take a first-round Azir with Orianna and a lot of mid laners open, and just be happy with that. So BDD returning to a pick that he has looked wonderful on in the past. Very hyped to see BDD's Azir. If you think back to the Kesper Cup, which I guess was a while ago now, he was blind picking Azir every game and styling on fulls on this pick. So he can be relentlessly aggressive. What will be the double ban here? Because so far, It's taking a nod from Crown and taking away that Vel'Koz, the old counter pick, into the Azir.
Yeah, so that one's going to be the first one. I think Xerath could also come in because BDD, he played that into UCal and it was disgusting.
But it's Kuro, right? The LeBlanc is the one you think of
well,
much
you
more.
certainly have to get rid of that too.
If it's going to be a first-time Xerath on the year for Kuro, I think you take that if you're BDD. But BDD's the only guy who's played Xerath this year, so it's been a lot more rare a pick in the LCK. So double ban, the Azir looking comfortable. If it's Orianna, you feel really good because the Azir, it's a nice matchup into that. So cool stuff from Kingzone so far.
Yep, final ban to come in, and it is the Skarner taken away from Kingzone. Peanut probably pretty happy about that. You can see actually a bit of a smile on his face here.
What about Zac in this game? I think Zac could be really powerful into the backline of Afreeca Freecs.
Also, Peanut has been one of our most successful aggressive Zac players in the past, but Xin Zhao being considered now, 9 seconds to go.
Being hovered, I don't really understand it. Can definitely fight the Sejuani well, but Zac seems like a perfect pick for this comp. And he's going to return to it. So, like this one, we weren't buying into the hover. A lot of synergy here with the Zac. More backline threat. The Azir can make backline threat as well. How are Freeca going to round out the draft? Because mid lane Azir. Do we see any new picks into it? Right now, flashing through the picks here, Afreeca rises up, and that's a pretty standard pick into the Azir.
Yeah, we saw that a lot yesterday. Still a lot of things that Kuro can head towards. Could also lock in Keen's pick here and give them a little bit more time.
Is the jungle matchup going to be a spicy one? You'd think yes, even though the Zac versus Sejuani isn't too exciting. The blind pick on the Gnar, and alright, we see a Kassadin hover. I feel like we're close to Kassadin games, but I don't know if this is the spot. It can be very strong against Azir after 6, but you're kind of asking for bad tidings if you go for the Kassadin in this spot pre-6. Waiting for the hovers here, the Corki hover as well. Are we going to get Corki a patch early?
Wow,
okay, this is really weird.
Gatling gun not quite super boosted on this particular patch, but still, Corki's pretty strong. His bottom lane win rate, actually, if you have a look at solo queue, is disgusting right now, but that's beside the point. Gangplank being considered now for Kingzone's follow-up. Khan able to pick that into the Gnar if he wants to, but this would be the quintessential Kingzone pick for the top lane in recent days.
He's a Cho'Gath and a Mundo main if you look at good old Khan this season, so he's going to go Cho'Gath. Good early pick into the Gnar. Really curious, guys. You can see in the middle there, under Khan and now under Spirit. It's patch 8.13. We have the hot fixes, but this is not 8.14, where 40 damage was given to Corki on his Gatling gun at level 1. So a bit curious. Stormracer Trinity Force, though, is still a banger of a build on good old Corki. So we'll see which order that comes in. You'd imagine still Sheen into the Trinity Force. Very old matchup, Azir versus Corki. It comes back again. Fun to see it. We've seen it before with Kuro versus BDD. We're going to see it today.
Yeah, we'll see what Kuro's going to be able to make work. Of course, a little bit of early game pressure available for the Corki now as well. Might give Spirit some room to roam around the jungle and also give aiming some time to scale, adding to the pressure on this map. Keen probably going to have a good time on the top side as well, although the Cho'Gath will be relatively immovable. Both sides of the map certainly having a lot to be excited about when you look at what these drafts are capable of. But I think the early game is going to be important. Can BDD once again style on fools on this Azir? Because if he gets out of control, I'm not entirely sure what you can do about it.
We've seen Tempt popping off on an old pick. Had a bit of a down summer. Brings out the Azir. Suddenly, Tempt has the killer instinct again.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we see that from BDD. He's very good at conceptualizing when to go for the Azir sec, when to go for the Streamer Shuffle. Can be so relentlessly aggressive. We'll see if today is the day. We see the Corki patch early. I have a very obvious prediction for 8.14. We'll be seeing a whole lot of that daring Bombardier in the mid lane.
Yeah, Corki is going to be pretty silly, and it feels like there's always a Corki patch.
Exactly.
As you move towards the end of the year, Corki patches are just inevitable.
As we move towards Summoner's Rift, we
not
get
entirely sure
a little
what we're doing
veneer
right here. Yeah, this is all very exciting as we're going to have a look at the Corki. That's what we're zooming in on. Kuro, can he impress us once again on a pick of his of old? We'll see what happens. Game number 1 is upon us. Let's get into it.
생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
I love that. The Pigeon Azir in the mid lane.
You know what I don't love, though, Atlas? I'm not a big fan of the Hot Rod Corki that we see
Really?
going on. Where are
it
you
reminds me of Chaos.
I was going to say the same thing. The reason why I don't like Hot Rod Chaos is that back in 2010, in the CLG versus TSM war, which was the only war that really existed and competitive back then, I was a CLG fan.
Really?
Yeah.
I was an old school TSM fan, so I'm.
See, I had the bad vibes
Yeah,
about
you
Chaos.
did.
You have the good vibes. All
I
right.
got the good vibes from
All
it.
right. Now we know. Finally, we found something that we don't actually see eye to eye on.
Yeah, and although I feel like, looking back, you still look fondly on both teams. The original
Sure.
iteration of TSM, original iteration of CLG.
But also, I hate you a bit more now.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, we didn't really need that, to be perfectly honest. Damn. Should have worked on it. As Kingzone, the chat's probably going to be ludicrous now, CLG, TSM.
Wait,
arguments going on?
What could they possibly be chanting about?
Not entirely sure.
Well, the topside leash going to be provided by the Cho'Gath, and Keen going to be well aware of this. Going to spot that one out. Bot side start for the Sejuani. Wait and see where the Scuttle priority is, but one of the cool points you brought up when we were very aggressively predicting this, the Zac, and we're happy to see it, is that Peanut has had games where he's been double buffed, like he's had his buffs taken away, and still been a super big factor on the Zac in a passive meta. He's found ganks out of Zac that other junglers couldn't on both SKT and now on Longzhu into Kingzone. Let's see how he can do in this game, because he's very creative in a champion that other people have struggled on in recent memory.
Yeah, and in 2018 has been the time where Peanut has really come into his own on the Zac as well. I mean, some of his bottom lane level 3 ganks on the Zac were super impressive. We know that his gank paths is much more creative than a lot of other junglers, but Peanut seems to find different ways to do it each time around, and we'll see whether today is going to be another example of that. Currently not going to be able to farm as quickly as Spirit on this Sejuani, despite the fact that he hasn't taken the fleet footwork, but should eventually be able to get himself into a good position.
To finish our point, though, do you stick with Hot Rod Corki being the best Corki skin?
Oh, no. I'm not a Hot Rod. It's not my favorite.
I'm an OG. I'm a Red Baron Corki guy myself.
Oh, Earth Corki. Just riding an Earth is just so good.
I don't agree. Earthwick, though. I'm with you there.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Here is that LCK history. A lot of our mid laners have played 30-odd games of the Corki. About 50% win rate here for Kuro. Looking at the keystones. Again, guys, we're on patch 8.13 today, not patch 8.14, so no buff to the level 1 Gatling gun to really get your lane rolling.
Yep. Looking over the other side, BDD 21
Oh, here we
games
go.
with the Azira's flash immediately from aiming is going to be collected, and that is once again the level 3 gank that we were talking about, and it'll bear fruit as First Blood goes over to prey on his Ezreal. Kingzone, beautiful stuff bottom side.
So many Zac players will wait till level 4 so you have extra range on your Elastic Slingshot. Not Peanut. Nice path there. Come over the wall at level 3. Finds his man. Wasn't the exact perfect game, but the timing was so good that someone had to pay for that particular path. The kill goes down to Prey. No free scaling lane for aiming and Tucson. They lose 3 summoners and a death.
Yeah, 3 summoners and a death, and Kingzone don't invest anything other than an exhaust into that situation. Peanut, Prey, and Gorilla all retain their flashes. Probably one of the most successful First Blood ganks that we have seen so far.
And then as Zac, you can actually just go back and say, I'm just farming to 6 guys.
Yeah,
I've done my job.
exactly.
We'll see if Peanut will be aggressive here in terms of keystones. It is Aftershock on both the Sejuani and also the Zac. Sometimes in the past when we had this matchup, you would see Fleet Footwork Sejuani to try to zoom around the map, but just the Aftershock here. So it's going to be a true frontline tank. And when you have a double marksman, and we've had enough games with 0 marksman across 2 teams, that when you have double marksman, you remember, actually, I really do need to be a tank.
Exactly. And this is the double marksman with the perfect array of damage as well, given how Corki works. Always loved these compositions. The ones of old with the Xayah Corki was incredibly popular when Xayah first made her way onto Summoner's Rift. And not going to be the case this time, but going to be paired with a similar hyper carry and a lower range version of that hyper carry flavor in the Kai'Sa.
So the things we've had high expectations for so far have paid off. The Zac here from Peanut and his pathing. What I want to see is a big game from Keen, because he's on the Gnar. He played this against MVP, and remember, guys, Afreeca MVP was the last Afreeca series.
Yep.
That's where Afreeca lost to the Shenanigans Triple Smite. And top lane, I guess Smite Mordekaiser it was from Max. That was the sort of series where Afreeca came away very frustrated. I actually talked to Spirit after the series, and I said, what do Afreeca need to do? Start winning? And he said, I need to stop trolling, was his answer.
All right. Well,
So-
actually, no, I was there. I was standing there while he
I
said
asked
it.
him about
and he had
Kingzone,
yeah.
and he also said, yeah, Peanut needs to stop trolling. So let's see who the big troll king is between Peanut and Spirit, both legendary
both of-
junglers here.
Exactly, and both legendary Trundle players as well to bring it back to League of Legends. But as we saw, Peanut was the one to win out against Spirit as he launched his way over, steals away. Oh, actually, no. It was Spirit that locked it down. I tell a lie.
Big
So,
shout out
nicely
to
done.
Big shout out to Spirit when we went over to Rift Rivals. Really affable guy, made a big effort
Yeah.
to, introduce us to people and be a bit of a translator there. Big personality. We lost out on Hooney, but it's good to see Spirit kind of feeling confident. As
Yeah.
BDD and Kuro, still plenty of damage on the Corki. Remember, although level 1 got stronger, it's still the same as the game goes on. It's just the early levels, Azir's probably going to take less harass damage.
Yeah, and this has always been a really confusing champion to talk about when it comes to scaling. Because Corki is one of those champions that wants to get to 1, 2, 3 items, has power spikes all over the place when it comes to that, but he is a scaling champion. Does do massive amounts of damage once you pick up all of his big-ticket items.
You're the man, right? I don't even talk about Corki color casting. That's all you.
Yeah, I love it.
You love your spikes.
Although it's not same anymore, you can't
It's
go
better.
Trinity Force Infinity Edge.
It's
Ugh.
better now.
Yeah, you can just go rapid fire cannon, continue that spiky spike, and then 60% crit Corki magic damage. Oh, baby.
What about Stormrazor and Trinity Force? Because Stormrazor didn't exist the last time, and
Oh,
Stormrazor
yeah.
Corki is really good. Then you get the rapid fire cannon. You don't even need IE. You're stronger than ever before.
That's the 4th power spike.
Yeah!
Oh, God, Kuro. This is going to be insane. I'm going to have the best time with my analysis.
Every time there's a Corki in the game, count how many times Atlas says the word spike in some form.
Well, I mean, you have to... There are a lot of spikes, okay? Flash immediately out of Gorilla, though. A lot of respect given, but didn't have a lot of time to react to that. Shows that certainly on form at the moment. He'll going to be used here because Tucson wants his flashback, I believe.
I think Aiming wants a shop as well, as Spirit helps them push out. Ray has his ultimate, so could try to push back here, but they don't have the vision into the brush. So gonna get away is the dancing Sejuani on top of the bristle.
Yep, and Prey going for a little bit of a snowball here with the Sheen pickup. Fairy Charm there, but doesn't have the early tier as Khan does land the Rupture. Getting that Feral Scream in there as well, so Keen does have to respect the Cho'Gath.
I think this will be the new support norm, by the way, on patch 8.14, especially for tank support. To see double Spellbook in this game. Tucson always takes Spellbook.
Yeah, he loves support.
I've talked to Gorilla before about Tucson as a player, and whenever he talks about support keystones, kind of Aftershock version or Spellbook version, and Tucson is a Spellbook always.
Well, gonna get the knock up there as Peanut gets a flash, flashes in to try and find Spirit, but doesn't actually commit to the kidnap. Bro uses the blast cone, but BDD, he's at half health. Yeah, they really want to steal this blue buff, and most likely move into a Rift Herald that's going to be spawning relatively soon.
Early smite there, but it's because the Corki is waiting for a late smite, and it just allows them to get the pass over to BDD. So a big assist to BDD, having a blue buff advantage over the enemy Corki. I like the Kingzone are trying to accelerate the pace of this game. I feel like in the mid-game, before there is 3 items on aiming, even 2 items on aiming, who will be going, I imagine, still Rageblade Stormrazor, even if he has a bit of... The Rageblade now doesn't mean he has to hard commit onto it, but Kingzone have the earlier power spikes, 1 item Azir, 2 item Ezreal, and they're really ready to roll at that point, maybe just a Righteous Glory onto the Cho'Gath at that point. They're going to try and get as much as possible before it just ends up being 3 tanks and 2 marksmen hyper-scaling into the late game.
It looks like a really beautiful sort of 25-minute Baron composition and win the game, because you've got the extra secure.
What about
I feel like
20 minute, baby?
I feel like 25 minutes because we can't really give Kingzone much more credit than that due to the fact that their ability to close out games has not been the absolute fastest so far this season.
But isn't it nice that you look at Kingzone's comp and you're like, oh, they can play all of these champions. There's no mage in the bot lane. There's no crazy stuff. They're falling back on marksman. There was a very good interview with Bang after their win yesterday where he said, well, it turns out that closing out games with a marksman is much easier. And of course, you and I sat there a month and a half ago and said, there's too much crazy stuff. Actually, teams need to fall back on what they're good at. So it's taken a while, but teams are finally understanding that their macro plays are going to be so much cleaner with a marksman. And with the changes on 8.14, expect more marksman versus marksman, but still the teams that are really good at some of those awesome dudes can pull them out situationally as well.
Yeah, I feel like the awesome dudes will always have a place now. I feel like there is going to be the continuation, especially when a lot of these players have really come into their own on the picks. As in goes Spirit, he's going to whiff the ultimate. They still might be able to find something here. Devour comes down. There is no flash for Gorilla, but he's got the grey health, and Teleport's coming in. Good Unbreakable from Tucson, and does get the cancel, but they don't get the gank, and they'll lose Shelly on the top side for it.
Very nicely repelled by Kingzone. The gank was clearly onto Gorilla because his flash is down, and ulting the Tom Ken's just the right way to do it. We're seeing a 2v2 top side, although Corki gives us up.
Yeah, and it's going to be a dead Gnar as well. The flash from Khan, but no, Keen is going to survive for the moment. Not going to find the rupture. Who's trying to predict a juke is now Kuro. He's under fire. Spirit finally able to get up here, and Tucson's going to join in. Doesn't have ult, remember, and Winter's Wrath doesn't have the range, but they stop Shelly from going down, and their solo lane has survived with a sliver of health each.
Right answer from the side of Kingzone. After repelling the gank bot side, they knew they could get the Rift Herald, but the collapse comes through. Afreeca kind of botched it because Corki goes back mid lane, and Keen should have died. I believe they missed some damage, trying to focus him down. An auto, another spell, he would have been dead. But Keen makes it away. The Grand Escape happens, and Kingzone can't punish Afreeca for that botched bot lane gank.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're seeing these two incredibly proficient top laners. It's normally Khan that's the one that seems to elude death all the time, but this time it's going to be Keen. Spirit making his way back into his jungle, has a red buff to take, but has been very active in the early game. It's funny, talking about these sort of tanky potato junglers, but Peanut and Spirit have been playing them like they're hyper-aggressive ganking junglers. It's like watching an Elise-style matchup, but with very different players involved.
I actually don't mind tank jungle metas. I probably prefer them over carry jungle metas. You might say, okay, but like that sounds boring. It's not really that. I think you can see a lot of skill expression on pathing, on initiating tanks that you don't necessarily see on every carry. When you come to Sejuani, we have a full spectrum of Sejuani players all the way from, say, Ambition to Umti, and they're very, very different in how they play the picks. Aftershock versus Fleet Footwork plays differently. If you can initiate and you're a pathing jungler, you're going around the map to create action rather than damage junglers that don't always get the call from their laners and can't make things happen themselves. Given that Zac and Sejuani are champions that can create action, I think the action is exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think any champion that's sort of built around skirmishing or team fighting is really, really fun to look at from each player's perspective. I mean, I
find Graves the most boring. He can't do anything himself,
yeah.
So he needs his
He
lanes
can't
to
even
be strong.
shoot through minions. So frustrating.
But he can grow a sweet mustache himself.
But he can't smoke a cigar anymore.
Oh, he's back. He's back
Oh,
smoking.
yes, sorry. He's smoking them
He
again.
just needed a couple years away. His doctor said, hey, cut the cigars.
The emphysema cleared up, so he's fine now. Runeterra really good at healing people through cancer and stuff like that, so it's okay. It's okay for Graves.
Did they ever explain in the lore how everyone can just teleport back to a fountain?
No, but maybe they take the blue pill. Maybe it's Morpheus. Maybe he's in there. Maybe that's what it is. Not entirely sure. We'll have to ask some of our buddies over in North America at the office.
I thought that was adjacent to Runeterra or something.
Yeah. California, next door.
I don't read the lore, guys. I actually don't know the
You
lore.
didn't see the new sweet map that came out?
We lost our lore expert in Doha when he left, unfortunately.
Oh, that's true. He wasn't a lore expert, though. Didn't he just muse about lore all the time?
No, it was just very obvious the person next to him knew nothing about the lore.
And would troll him about it to no end. Ah, perfect.
Well, this game has been highlighted by that excellent play on the bot side by Peanut, and two Drakes also. Khan is pretty tanky, but we're going for him.
Yeah, he's looking to try and eat this Gnar as well, but he's going to get Mega Gnar. He's going to get all that health, and they're going to just jump on the Dinosaur. Spirit grabs the kill in the end, and we do have some action, but it's going to be followed up. It's a really nice kidnap opportunity here as he just gets swooped back in. BDD picks up a kill easy, and we had a bit of a lull, but now we've got a mid lane out of turret falling down. Khan in the death chamber, everyone else mid.
And this is so big for Kingzone. This rotation is so important because you can't allow the Kai'Sa any more free time in extended laning phases. They get the double interrupt on Kuro. He can't get away. And from there, they're able to take down the mid lane turret. Well played by Peanut. You got to remember your timings against the Elastic Slingshot. Kuro botched them.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out there. The Corki might need a little bit more work, but we'll see how he goes as this game progresses. Shelly not even going to be taken here from Spirit, as Honeyfruit's going to be eaten, while the Rift Scuttler's going to be taken down. Spirit able to take that one away. Peanut didn't quite have his smite available yet, I believe. It is now just going to come off cooldown. So Shelly doesn't actually get taken. 15 minutes here into the game. Spirit unable to grab that, but was able to steal away the Rift Scuttler.
The mechanic you guys need to know, if you are not Corki players, when you have the special delivery, when you have that big package, as Brendan Valdez would like to call it.
He loves talking about packages.
The passive, you can override CC, but the normal Valkyrie cannot. And that is the interrupt that came through from Peanut. They knew the flash was down on the top side, that's why Khan died, but the flash is also down in the mid lane, that's why Kuro died. But increasing the pace of the game, 2-item Ezreal about to show up, 1-item Azir already showed up. They need to continue fighting like this before Kuro and Aiming get their items, so that's why it's a big win to get that mid lane turn.
And as you look at the damage, no surprise that Keen has been able to harass the Cho'Gath a heck of a lot. See, that's not exactly optimal use of the package, but it was timing out, so Kuro had to get rid of it. Going to be able to at least wave clear with the equalizer-like effect. In goes Peanut once again. Does still have Flash available, remember. Hasn't needed to use it for any of his successful ganks so far this game. 2 working out already.
Backup thing they get, if they can get one more turret. Also, Atlas is getting the Wits End Gnar out of the Cho'Gath matchup. They really want to dodge here if you're King Zone. The Cho'Gath out of the Gnar matchup as much as possible, given that Gnar was able to build for lane and is very punishing. For the Cho'Gath, the best way to do that, of course, rotating with your duo lane. Unfortunately, the mid lane targets the map control, but doesn't really allow the Ezreal to vary up his positioning. So for now, the Cho'Gath just has to have a bit of a bad time.
Yeah, but with the map control added, it means that they will be able to shove this bottom wave a little bit more freely. So should just be a matter of time before Kingzone can get the pressure that they require down there. At the moment, we are going to see some backs. Gorilla going to go back home, but it's Trinity Force Manamune picked up from Prey. Trinity Force there, so first spike hit by Kuro in the mid lane because the Sork Boots are alongside it, but Prey much faster to pick up his items so far this game. Thank you very much, Kleptomancy.
Pretty big win button for fighting around both the Rift Herald and also the Infernal Drake that spawns in a minute 30. So this is the frustration if you're Afreeca. You would have wanted a low-roll Drake that you could give up, but now it's an Infernal. And Prey is at full power. But this is the point in the game where there will not be a bigger discrepancy in power, although if Peanut's caught...
Yep, interrupt on the slingshot, but you can't interrupt the kidnap. Gorilla has to flash to get his Zac out of the way. The blob will survive, but Kingzone have to expend a lot just to get him out of the way of this one. A minute now on the Infernal Drake. Spirit going to be moving out, and Peanut still has his flash available. They only put Gorillas into that. So that is good news. He'll have the ult for the Drake.
They didn't end up losing too much. Doesn't feel ideal that you lose that ultimate from Peanut, but the flashes are up on the enemy teams. The chance of actually getting a high value Let's Bounce were pretty low. You need to be able to fight at this point because this is when, relatively, you're the strongest compared to the enemy team. As Prey is a monster, the strongest person on the map, and Azir with Nashor's needs no introduction. So getting as much now is what Kingzone need, and it's what they looked for from the draft.
And they're also looking for a lot of vision control here around this jungle. You can see 2 control wards are there for Afreeca Freecs. They need them because with the mid lane outer turret down, all of that map control that is implied does now need to be really forced out of Afreeca Freecs to try and get themselves back into relative control.
Point we didn't talk about in draft is a lot of latent magic damage. We are going to get AP Kai'Sa coming out of the bot lane here from Aiming. Of course, Kuro does mostly magic damage as well on the Corki, and it's Wits End Gnar. So while they don't have a traditional mage like the Azir, for example, there still is a lot of magic damage on the Afreeca side. So they don't have the late game queries that a different double marksman comp would.
I find it very interesting that Aiming has gone for the AP build. We've seen the Stormrazor be very, very effective in the hands of a lot of our hypercarry players. Deft comes to mind for some of our most successful, and it would have been way better in this game to give them that damage variance that you are talking about. Khan's going to now have a very easy time itemizing towards this composition.
They still have enough physical damage, even if they don't have hard physical damage you're kind of alluding to, Atlas. They'll get an Infinity Edge on the Corki eventually, for example.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't mind it is you consider Braum, the Gnar ultimate, the Gnar Wallop, and also the Sejuani. They have a lot of hard CC, and that the AP build is a really good burst build to finish off the plasmas that both the Kai'Sa and the teammates with hard CC can provide. So when it comes to actually killing some targets with, say, 2 rounds of that passive, it could be enough for the AP Kai'Sa. It made the lane weaker, but he's within 4 CS, so the laning phase has actually been pretty comfortable for this AP Kai'Sa.
And also aiming is going to, you know, hit his power a little bit earlier with the Nationals Tooth coming in second. Kingzone have started off this Drake, and they do have Abyssal Voyage. Utilized it to get Prey in here early.
Aiming in base, just gone for that recall to get most of the Nashors.
Okay, and Spirit not going to be able to steal this one away. It was very early smite from Peanut, but knew that there was a feast available, and Khan just ate it. Spirit looking a little bit frustrated there because he saw the smite get used.
No cost, it was just blasting plant into Arctic Assault. So didn't need to flash to make the play, and in the future, getting a smite in the middle of those 2 skills being used, the flash and the feast, has happened in so many competitive games. Atlas, we both must have cast games where the feast cast time has really counted against the Cho'Gath in those smite battles. That get your eye in. There may be another moment like that for Spirit not too far away.
We'll see whether it is going to be on a Drake or whether it's going to be on a Baron, because 3rd Infernal in a row is going to be spawning next. That is some pretty sweet RNG for Kingzone, who have the early game control. A 2nd tier to come in from Prey. He wants to hyperscale alongside aiming as well. Understands that he does have the luxury to do so far this game.
And against double marksman, it's actually a very high value, because if he ever clips the marksman, that's 1,000 damage to a marksman that would be much lower than if it was onto a tank. So given there's 2 people that you can poke out with just your ultimate, which is the big thing that you get from going heavily into the Seraph side of things, you get some safety, but you also get poke. Speaking of poke, Peanut gonna have to eat some of that tasty fruit. But meanwhile, Prey does get the 2nd out of time.
But Peanut's able to play so safely and aggressively at the same time, because he does have the Devour hanging out behind him. He's got his passive, he's got his flash available as well. I feel like he does certainly know his limit, even though it looks like he's doing some silly maneuvers moving into the enemy jungle and that sort of thing. Potentially overextending, but he's so safe.
I want to draw your attention to the itemization here. It's double Spectre's Cowl on the side of Khan and Peanut. In line with our discussion of the AP profile, it's going to be double Adaptive Helm, you have to think here. The old itemization against on-hit Kog'Maw.
Unable to steal away the red buff, but yeah, I was looking at that as well, and I was like, oh, this feels like an Adaptive Helm game. Against Corki, it's brilliant. Against Kai'Sa, it's fantastic as well.
It could still be a Spirit Visage from the Zac in particular, but I think Adaptive Helm fits so cleanly. And if you get it early, you pick it up. Obviously, you can't go Cinderhawk Warmonks anymore, so you get the Adaptive Helm, then work your way into a Warmonks. It will eventually be double Warmonks from the side of Kingzone for certain, to be able to shrug off some of the poke from the Corki in particular. But Adaptive Helm, the item that you're really thinking of here because of how it works against the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, it looks like Khan is going to be going the same way, but going for the Spirit Visage, but you know that that's a lot to do with the fact that he can just eat minions and get all of his health back. Spirit Visage, very, very useful as Peanut narrowly escaping the Arctic Assault coming in from Spirit. He's going to be fine.
Let's also, we've been focusing on the Kingzone side and their good start. Do consider that AP Kai'Sa hasn't really been punished, has 2 items now, and been able to get to the evolve on both the attack speed and that ability power at this item timing.
Keen. Not a lot of people can split push against him at the moment.
They definitely haven't fallen behind in a huge way. It was just rapid fire cannon seconds, so maybe the Storm Razor won't come into the build path this time for the Corki, but in future patches we will definitely see Storm Razor Corki. The item timings here are pretty decent. They haven't lost that much on the map. You don't feel great about losing double Infernal, but it's not necessarily a disaster either. So when it comes to what Afreeca are willing to give up in the early game to make their AP Kai'Sa and Corki work, it certainly hasn't been a disaster.
It hasn't, but Prey's got an Archangels. This guy has just been free farming, and he's a hyper carry as well. He's gone double tier build, which means he does a lot more damage as this game goes on, and will be that late game threat that we talk about. See, that's just an auto attack after the Arcane Shift and already chunking through Tucson, given his huge mana pool.
Do we have a no stopwatch game again? I think we did, because I don't see a stopwatch on either side, and I don't remember anyone going golden.
Nope, haven't seen one so far. Haven't got a lot of inspiration. It's just the Spellbookers and Peanut. Oh, and Prey, of course, with Klepto.
Reason why I was looking for stopwatches, because BDD can still win this game with an aggressive play, a Streamer Shuffle, and doesn't have the stopwatch or the Zonias on the way just yet. Might see him pick it up. If definitely Atlas, if you notice a spry stopwatch in the inventory, then that means that BDD's feeling frisky for a future fight.
We know that it was actually Prey that managed to buy a lot of time in their team fight that really changed the tone of the series against KT. Utilizing that stopwatch to get out of the Empress Divide. Glad you bring it up as in goes Peanut.
Oh, baby!
Insta-kidnap and delivers the bottom lane to the mid lane. Aiming, he's trying to run away now, but I'm not sure how far he can go because there's the Abyssal Voyage and Peanut gets another double knockup. Spirit, he's going to get devoured and delivered and destroyed. Prey picks up the kill and now Kuro just has to watch on in horror. In the bottom lane, Keen's like, well, I got my teleport, but you guys are already dead and you can have my mid laner as well. I'm going to try and take a turret.
Well, a lot of people think the pocket pick for Peanut is that Nidalee, but the Zac has always been one that he seemed to have this intrinsic link to. He had that struggle to get into the Cinderhulk meta, but the one that got him there was jumping on that Zac. He basically wins the game with 2 elastic slingshots, and it's a free Baron to King Zone.
Yep, and Keen, you can see he's frustrated trying to tank up this turret. He's going to do so as the Baron does fall down. The Feast is available, but Keen still going to be able to get the one-on-one kill on the bottom side of the map. Trades it for a Baron, though.
You do worry that it's one of those games where Keen wins the side lane and his team loses around him. Peanut comes in. Tucson has to be better. He's not able to interrupt on that particular side. He's not quite Thresh on the Braum, but the ult, if it's earlier, can interrupt the elastic slingshot. By the end, it's too late. Aiming has to flash away. They come in. Second elastic slingshot. Gets
Peanut.
the double. Beautiful stuff from Peanut.
It feels like vintage Peanuts making his way back to the LCK, Papa Smithy. It is beautiful to see this level of play.
And then BDD just saunters in, gets the kill as well. But we're fighting, actually, picture in picture.
Yep, Kingzone all grouped up here, having the high ground advantage, theoretically, into the river. Tucson very, very low, so we try and catch up. Looks like Kingzone, cake and eat it too. Feels like the aim of the game here is the third Infernal Drake in a row should be theirs.
And this is the chocolate fire cake right here, that molten chocolate. They really want it.
Spirit, they're going to jump on top of him. They're going to grab the Infernal Drake, and Spirit barely gets out with his life. Does invest the ultimate. Kuro trying to get mid lane, but he's not going to get that either. It's just nothing that Afreeca can grab in trade for any of these objectives that Kingzone are just tearing from the map.
Oh boy, the lava cake is so tasty here. They have Baron triple Infernal. Now I want some chocolate lava cake.
Yeah,
but
me
King
too.
Zone
Why did
DragonX,
you talk about that?
You were talking about Peanut falling back to old Peanut. I think this is King Zone falling back to old King Zone.
Yeah.
We saw them beat KT, but there still was some of those gaps. Suddenly, the Zac comes out. They return to BDD on the Azir for the first time on the season, and everything is falling into place for King Zone DragonX. If you're any other team that has to face King Zone in the regular season, you're definitely worried watching a game like this.
Yeah, thankfully the Void Seeker is going to find Peanut there, which means that Keen's able to move out of the way of a potential elastic slingshot, but already the structures are starting to fall down. Prey is shoved this way forward on the bottom side as True Shot Barrage is eaten. That means Unbreakable now on cooldown. Afreeca Freecs not going to be able to stave off the siege bottom side very much at all. We're going to have Kingzone now moving around, trying to take down as many inner turrets as they can. And Papa, what did I say earlier on? 25-minute Baron? It was 26 minutes. I think the composition working exactly the way that Kingzone had built it to. Really, really nice stuff here so far from the team that does seem to have Afreeca's number so far this season.
But Atlas, let's not be too rose-tinted. Remember, we were just praising Afreeca, saying, okay, they didn't lose the maximum. They have a chance. They've got 2 items. And then it was execution from Peanut in particular that bequeathed them basically the entire game. Now they are so far ahead, and Afreeca's worried that if they make the wrong engage, they just lose.
Yeah, it's 6,000 gold, the lead. Inhibitor turret has been taken in the mid lane as well, so base broken, Baron successful. Rupture is going to be avoided, but they don't avoid the elastic slingshot, thankfully. The Na is there with the ultimate, but that is a big cooldown to invest just for a disengage, and it costs them the inhibitor.
That extra AP scaling on the auto attacks means that Azir, who lost his W passive before where he could just blow up a turret,
Braum.
He's still blowing him up anyway. He's doing really well here. Is King Zone, they're going to take the one objective and back away. The final shops are coming in. That's a nice hat on Tabita. He suits him really well.
Yep, still actually hasn't gone back yet. He had that for that last fight. What can he get now? Is it Void Stuff just outright? That would be real scary. It's not, as he grabs himself the makings of the Zhonya's. So yeah, stopwatch has been purchased.
And you know what that means? It means he's going ham in the next fight. We were waiting for it. We knew a stopwatch would come.
Eventually, yeah.
Sooner or later. He's got it now. His flash will be up for it. ready for a BDD highlight, and it's likely to be a BDD deletion because there's plenty of damage to back up the playmaking.
Yeah, good God, he's got so much. 40% CDR has been completed here as well on the Azir. As Teleport is going to come down, and Peanut, he's going to find his man, Kidnap on the Gnar just to bring him closer and closer to the Tahm Kench. All of the CCs available. He ain't going anywhere. Does do, you know, a bit of damage with the ult, but that is about it. And Keen, yeah, feeling a little bit like ELO hell for him today.
It's been a kind of worrying trend for them in those 5 matches. We already mentioned the pregame. 2 and 3 for both Afreeca Freecs and Kingzone their last 5 matches. 2,500 gold is the Baron buff power play to Kingzone. But Keen has had a lot of good games and losses, and just not a lot of poor games in general. He's been wonderful in this summer season. Kingzone roll in. They want a second inhibitor turret. They should get it, and Afreeca have to be worried about that big BDD engage.
Yeah, and they have to be worried about Prey as well, who's got 4 of the biggest items that an Ezreal can ever get. Seraph's Embrace transformation to come in to add insult to injury, and that is going to be the inhibitor. Falling down topside, we'll see whether they actually head bottom lane. That big wave is shoving, and it's a long way away. Kingzone able to disengage here, not going to go for the win or anything like that. They've got an Ocean Drake that they could potentially pick up for just the most dragons this game. That Elder would certainly be huge, but triple Infernal.
384 AD and 213 AP onto the Ezreal. He is certainly a very, very strong carry in this game.
He's a big boy.
I wanted to say that, but I couldn't say it with any seriousness. He's not a big boy. He's in fact quite a slender boy.
What do you mean? Prey is a big boy.
No, but the Ezreal is.
Yeah, the Ezreal certainly isn't. He's a little bit effeminate, that guy.
Back away here, Kingzone, pushing up some waves, and all Afreeca can really do is hope that everything lines up in a fight. They find a way to burst someone instantly, and it's looking so tricky. The Gathering Storm is sometimes a win condition, but in this game, not going to be a win condition.
Well, it might be for Prey. He, of course, went for the double tier, so he was opting into that late game. And he's most likely going to win. So I guess you could call it a win condition. But Adaptive Helm finally picked up for Khan. That's the first one we're going to see, as Peanut did, like you say, go for the Spirit Visage. Pretty standard item for Zach, so didn't really want to opt out of it. And now, tutorially, we will move towards the bottom side of the map, open up the rest of the base of the Afreeca Freecs, and watch Super Creeps decimate it as Kingzone move themselves forward slowly but surely to win this game. Cool Hat coming in for aiming. He's got his Rabbidan's Death Cap for his 3rd item. Does a lot of damage. We're very close to Infinity Edge for Kuro, but I just think it's too little too late at this stage. 8,000 gold the lead for Kingzone. The composition has done exactly what it wanted to do, and now they're just sieging to try and pick up the rest of this game.
Kingzone trying to win the first battle in this extended lore battle. Remember, they beat the other Rocks Tiger earlier this week in SMEB. They're against their old mid laner Kuro today. Trying to go back-to-back in 1 week here, defeating those 2 former teammates of Prey, Peanut, and Gorilla. Kingzone back away. They are so incredibly strong at this point. They back away to the Baron and they say, well, if Peanut hits another Elastic Slingshot, the game will just end.
Yep. And I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to get enough done here elsewhere on the map. Afreeca, as Spirit is going to move away, so Stretch Armstrong not going to be successful there from Peanut. But they're looking for a Baron. Kingzone pretty easily should be able to get this. Already started up by Gorilla and Prey. Vision is there, but I have a feeling that this is just Afreeca seeing their problems as, okay, the engage to come in from Peanut. He will get deleted very early on in the piece, and they're not going to be able to protect him unless the teleport comes in. It does. That has to be cancelled. He's trying to get his way out of there. Prey, free hitting on the back line. Empress Divide is huge and destroys that Kai'Sa. It's a double kill for BDD, and he still wants more. Khan is a front line that you cannot avoid as Keen tries to jump his way out. Peanut, he can land wherever he wants and finds his mark. And the Rupture's going to be there as well. Kingzone, they thought about the Baron, but now they're just thinking about winning the game.
It looked like it was going to be the perfect fight for Afreeca, but they're too far behind. In a more even game, they would have won that one. But in this one, whenever you walk up, you walk into BDD. He is the destroyer, and Kingzone DragonX will win game 1.
Yeah, Kuro trying to stop it from the fountain, but nothing he can do. Nexus is going to be obliterated. Prey picks up the last kill there on his former teammate, and is going to go down for it, but Kingzone DragonX, a beautiful victory and great execution on a composition's win condition.
They return to a lot of the stuff that made Kingzone strong. They've been strong in Zac metas. They've been strong with BDD on the Azir. And that comfort, the meta rolling on towards these mages like the Orianna and the Azir in particular, Kingzone DragonX perks up their head and says, yes, please, sir, one more helping of what's coming right now in the meta in Korea. So they easily win this game number 1. And somehow, with a schedule like KT and Afreeca, Kingzone DragonX go back, rewind history and say, we always beat these teams. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past month. We will still beat them again.
And also, this is a team vying for that top position as well. Remember, Kingzone DragonX can still potentially be number 1 here in the LCK. It can still happen.
It requires results to go their way.
Yeah.
The strength of schedule argument is that Gen G and Griffin only face the bottom 4, but you're right. Kingzone DragonX look at the schedule and say, let's win 4 series in a row, and at worst, we're coming into the playoffs with a huge momentum spree that might set them up for less best-of-5s and a lot of confidence going into those knockout matches.
Yeah, it's likely that they will just be semis and finals. You know, it could be an opportunity here for Kingzone DragonX, but they're going to have to continue on this form and show us that the consistency is now there for this squad. We know domestically they're very strong, but they dropped series to Jin Air recently. The only real convincing 2-0 victory was against MVP without their top laner. So if they're able to back up a very clean Game 1 with another very clean Game 2, I'm ready to start believing again in Kingzone DragonX.
I'm just happy I can believe in their drafting, because their drafting has been pretty poor for the best part of summer season.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Peanut's happy to return to the Zac. The spot called for it, and he definitely called for it for himself. The Ezreal, the marksman are back. Kingzone DragonX, are they truly back, or is it just a mirage? We're going to have to see more games to know for sure.
And they drafted for this composition very, very early as well. That bottom lane in the AD and the Tahm Kench just looking really, really good from the squad. BDD back on the Azir is great as well. Guys, we're going to have a short break, and when we get back, Game 2, Kingzone versus Afreeca.